Hi and welcome back for another one of our YouTube videos with a little bit of spooky content. So today I will actually be making a Halloween bath caddy. So coffin shaped to go in with the Halloween theme. I have a piece of camphor laurel timber that I've cut to shape. I've framed it out, so I do need you to refer back to our framing up and sealing up videos because I've already done that stage. But other than that, I will go through the details with you and show you what I'll be using today. Okay, to start with, because I've created a slightly different shape, I actually use a bit of a template. So this is my coffin template that I've drawn out, measured out, and made sure I had all my angles correct. And this is just on a core flute piece. So this template actually helped me form the shape of my timber. I was able to pop this over the top of my timber and know the best angles to cut to get the most use out of my timber. But it also allowed me to make sure that when I popped my end strips on, to ensure where I pour in my resin today, that they were in the correct position and in the correct shape. So it's a good little handy tip to have, even if you're doing a rectangle piece or something like that, or you have a usual shape that you like to use. Sometimes having that template to be able to sit over your timber and see which is the best position to include, you know, certain knots and features and grains of the timber. It's always a little handy tip to have your template shape cut out and use that as a guide. Now, with the bath caddy piece that I've created, the intention is through all this channel, through the front of the camphor laurel here, I have actually charted up, wired brushed it out, and then we've sealed it up. So again, refer to our sealing up video. I have this outside edge here that helps form the coffin shape that I'll be filling today with Resi Clear. So this channel I'll be doing in 2 pours. The first will be a nice deep metallic green, and then we'll be topping it up with some translucent Resi Clear just to give us a little bit of depth to our job today. But through the area of the bark here, through the center of this timber, where I've actually charted out and sealed it up, I'm going to be dusting in some of our metallic powders and then topping it up with a translucent tinted layer, so that way it gives us a really cool effect through the timber. So as mentioned, we're using our Resi Clear. It is a 2:1 ratio resin. I have gotten a rough calculation of the area that I want to fill in here, and that was by the average length and the average width in centimeters by 1.5 centimeters, and that's given us 900 mils today. So that's close to what I'll be using to do our first layer in our edge of our coffin, and also to fill in this detail with our tinted translucent layer through the center of the bark. I have a range of colours that I'm going to use today, mainly green based because I'm doing a black and green themed coffin board. So I have all of our sort of green related colours, green pearl, deep green, blackish green from our Resi range, and I even have our olive green. But I've also got our tinted translucent layers. So these dyes will help me with those layers, and I've got the full green range as well. So Kelly green, emerald green, fluorescent green. I've even got your turquoise, brilliant blue, and jet black in case I want to change the tones of those greens today. We've got our trusty ratio measuring cup, and I've got our 1300 ml one because, as I mentioned before, we do need to pour up to 900 mils today, so we're close to the top of our container. Some spare cups to mix my colours up. To keep everything clean, our Resi isopropyl in our Resi spray bottles. So I might as well get started. Okay, putting on my black nitrile gloves. I've just got a little bit of scrap plastic here because I'm going to use it as like a bit of an art palette when I'm putting my powders on. I just want to mix a couple of them together, and I'm going to be tapping those powders with my gloves on into the channel in here. So it will be a combination of different colours to create the greens that I'm after. Okay. So I've got some of our metallic powders out here, and I do want to focus a bit on our pearl powders. So I have our satin blue and our pearl green. Now, when I dust on these lighter colours into my channel here, when I'm covering them with a tinted translucent layer, they reflect differently. So that's where I'm going to get my real shimmering look to it. So I will be popping a fair bit of the pearl colour on, and just with a little bit of my base greens through it as well. Now, as I'm doing this, the aim is to not actually get every nook and cranny. I sort of want to sit on the high points of my bark, so that way I'm getting a little bit of my depth of colour from my darker burnt charred timber underneath. The other thing I want to make mention of is that when I'm popping this on, I don't want chunks of powder. So if I do accidentally have like a chunk of powder drop in there, I will either pat it through or I will remove it, because if I've got chunks, what'll happen is when I do try to pour in my next layer of tinted translucent resin, those chunks will float and they'll look like an imperfection. So I want to make sure I've got good firm coverage where I'm tapping it in. You could use a brush for applying some of this, but with a brush you have a little bit more precision, and like I said earlier, I want to try aim for the higher points on my timber. So I don't want, a brush would probably get down into those finer points. So I do prefer to just dust it on with my finger where I have a little bit more control and keeping to the higher points on my bark here. Because I'm working on quite a textured sort of bark channel here, if I was to seal this up and then leave it for a bit, I do have a fair bit of texture to this where I would only be removing any extra dust or residue from the environment off of it by giving it a nice clean with like a pure isopropyl or something like that. You wouldn't necessarily have to scuff it up too much because I've got a lot of texture here. So if I do pour a layer over the top of this, I know that I'm still going to get a good bond to it. I'm also patting it on instead of wiping it on because I don't want to get marks where it looks like I've swiped across it. So I don't want to have like just a smooth line of it going across. I actually want to have it so it doesn't look like I've applied it with my hand. So I am making sure I am sort of patting it on and getting an even coverage that doesn't look like I've just wiped it on and not really cared about where I've applied it. Now I've filled the majority of my channels here, so I'm going to just neaten it up and give it a little bit of a clean. I've just got my isopropyl on a cloth and I just want to clean the top edges or anywhere where I feel like it may have gone a little bit deep. Okay. So I'm happy with that now. We are going to mix up a batch of our Resi Clear and add some metallic powders so I can start filling this channel, and then we'll have a tinted translucent layer to add to the top of this. With our mixing process, just remember you can refer back to our mixing video too. See below. Okay, so we've mixed up our batch of Resi Clear. I've just divided small portions off that I'm actually going to put our metallic pigments into to start filling our outside of our coffin in the channel. I think we're ready to pour our channel. All right, we'll start with our blackish green. Pour some of our deep green with our fluorescent lime dye in it. Our blackish green with our jet black dye. And then add in our translucent layer over the top. And the aim is for this channel to pour in 2 layers. So I'm pouring my metallics in at the moment with a little bit of translucent, and that'll be poured up to about 1.5 centimetres. I'll let that tack off till about the 3-hour mark, and then we can come back and actually pour another layer on top of it. So it doesn't have to be completely cured when I know I've got my watertight channel. So in about 3 hours time, I will actually come back and top up with a tinted translucent layer. I'm gonna let the resin do its own thing and create its own patterns. I will give it a mist with my isopropyl soon to pop any bubbles that might come to the surface that have been from my mixture, and that'll break the surface tension and pop those bubbles. But in the meantime, with my other bit of Resi Clear that I've got aside, I'm actually gonna mix up some translucent colours and fill our channel here. Happy with all those 4 colours now, so I will start pouring into our channel that we've put our metallic pigments into. Let's start with our darkest colour first and pour it down through the deeper channel. Pouring some of our emerald green. A little bit of my vibrant Kelly green and lime, fluorescent lime. A bit of my turquoise coming through. And adding a tiny bit more of my deeper colour back around my edges. Cool. I've got a bit of a combination of dark and bright and light here, so I'm just going to blend it together in the corner that little bit. But otherwise I'm pretty happy with the colour transition between all the greens here, because it gives my board a lot more depth, and you can really see how these metallic powders that I've filled it with have really now illuminated. So it doesn't just look like a nice white pearl mess now, it actually looks like it's got some cool texture to it, taking on the bark texture. Wipe away a couple of the main drops. And I will give it a light mist with methylated spirit so I can pop some of the bubbles that I know I've got at the moment. And then I'm going to do a quick tidy up, and we're going to let this sit for approximately 3 hours before we come back and actually do our top up layer on this external channel that forms the shape of the coffin. So we'll see you soon. Okay guys, it is now the 3 hour mark, And I've just mixed up another batch of Resi Clear, and I'm about to divide it up into 4 cups here and make a similar combination of colours that I created for our bark through the centre of the timber. And it will be just translucent because I do want to still be able to see all the metallic work that I've done in my first layer on the outside of the coffin here. So I'm going to divide up and then add our translucent colours, and then we'll pour our last layer on our coffin board. I think I might leave it at that colour. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start pouring. And pour in pops of the lighter green. And some of our turquoise. Okay, so I'll pour that last lot in. And I'll give it a nice mist with isopropyl because I thoroughly mixed those couple of lots of translucent cups, so there were quite a few bubbles from me mixing through. And our aim for this one now is to let it cure. Because I've used the Resi Cure, we are looking at a 24-hour cure mark. So once we've reached just over that, I'll be able to demold this, and that'll be tapping off of our end strips just lightly with a hammer or a paint scraper just to release it. And then I can pull it up off of the backing board. With this particular backing board, I have used a form ply, but I did cover it with clear packing tape just to ensure that I would be able to remove it easily. And once that's done, I'll be able to give it a nice sand back to level it, and we'll then continue to stain it and have our finished piece. So guys, if you have any questions, please make sure you leave them in the comments below. And for any ideas or help on mixing as well as our sealing up and framing up, please refer back to the videos that we have noted on those. But otherwise, thanks very much for watching again, and we'll see you next time.